Who'd have thought Resident Evil would be the next great Metroidvania? I'm Chris from Cody's Friendship Unit, and we're going to be talking about Resident Evil 2, the remake. I just finished my first playthrough, and I had a thought, which led me to another thought, that we haven't really had this before. That thought is that Resident Evil 2 was a surprisingly good Metroidvania. Metroidvania that's good for beginners, great for beginners, great for people who don't like Metroidvanias, because it's kind of a Metroidvania light. And we're going to dive right into this, but real quick, we are so close to 200 subs. A sub is super appreciated. We're doing a giveaway every 10 subs. That'd be awesome. Let me know down below if you agree. And if you like the video, please throw us a like. Alright. So, I said that this is a 1, Metroidvania, 2, great for beginners, and 3, maybe even good for people who don't like Metroidvanias like myself. I just finished my first playthrough. I played as Claire, and my favorite Resident Evil game was Resident Evil 4. So, here we go. Basically, at least in the Claire playthrough, and I believe the Leon playthrough, there's 3 really distinct zones. There is the Raccoon City Police Department, and then there are 2 distinct chunks that are a little smaller but still zones. And each of those zones is almost like a mini Metroidvania, where you progress by finding items, and that item allows you to get another item, which allows you to progress a little further, and you're kind of slowly doing this Rubik's Cube that is the zone until, by the end of it, you know the zone like the back of your hand. You've collected all the items, you're better off than you used to be, and you're ultimately progressing the story. But then there's like a kind of like micro thing that I'm going to get into. I just want to talk about the item thing though, because usually in Metroidvanias, you get items that make you better, and those better things allow you to progress. Like in Metroid, you would get the Ice Beam, which would let you make platforms off of critters, and you could, platform. You could make your own platforms to progress. You don't get that in Resident Evil, but that's a good thing, because you would kind of lose the survival horror. This is an attempt to maintain the survival horror, where, yes, you're just getting a key, or you're just getting a jack that helps you in a puzzle, or you're just getting a crank or a valve. But while it doesn't make you stronger, it does help you progress while maintaining the kind of survival horror aspect. And then I want to talk about the zones. Like I said, the campaign has about 3 of these like mini Metroidvania zones. It's my understanding that Metroid Zero Mission and Metroid Fusion had kind of zones where you would essentially be locked off, and they'd say, okay, kind of complete this, and then you're free to go. This is a little bit more liberal, because I would say these are these are 3 to 4 hour chunks where you're in this one area. That's a little bit bigger than what my understanding of Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission are. But that's good. So it's like you still get that Metroidvania feel, but you can complete it and complete that chunk in about 4 hours, and it gives you a really good sense of like reward, because you're not beating your head again. Like, at least for me, I love Metroid Prime, but at least when I was younger, just the idea of digesting the whole planet. And I know that to an extent you were digesting zones, but they would send you back and forth. Digesting a whole planet was a lot for me. Whereas this, it's very much, you can go back, but it's very much like digest this zone, then we'll go to a different zone, then we'll go to a different zone. And then I want to talk about like kind of the survival horror like loop of it all. So like, unlike in the Metroid games, and I believe to an extent the Castlevania games, the enemies don't necessarily respawn. Sometimes new enemies will come, or like break through windows, or circumstances will change, but for the most part, it's static. If you kill an enemy, that enemy will be dead. And you kind of go through these loops. Like, I'm going to use the police department for spoiler reasons, but the police department has like a safety box where you can store stuff because you have limited inventory, and a save slot. And when you go out to any of the branching directions, there's like 4 or 5 branching directions that you can go. When you go out to do one of those, you're essentially doing a loop. Those, if you pick like direction A, B, C, or D, They're not. They kind of connect to each other, but broadly speaking, they don't. So you're kind of committing. Like, I'm going to see how far I can get in this loop. Maybe I can round about back, or maybe I'll have to turn around and hit a dead end. When you do that loop, that's when the survival horror is hitting. That's when you're committing. You're going to see, maybe I'll plug one zombie, maybe I'll kill one zombie, maybe I'll get stuck and not have enough resources. When I hit that dead end and there's like 2 zombies on my heels and I know I have to turn around, that's when the survival horror is at its best. But, maybe during one of these loops, you pick up a key. Or you pick up a lock combination or something. And then you finish the loop and you round up back in that safe zone, that zone with the save space and the storage box. Then you take a breather. Then you do your kind of detective work. Instead of like living tense in the survival horror moment, you can open your map, which is a really good map, by the way. It's like one of my most used maps in any game, I think. You can open your map, you can say, oh, I found this key. I wonder what this key can be used. And the map's so good at keeping track of your other like loop stuff. You can be like, oh, key goes here. I need to go in this direction. I need to go in direction B and do that loop. And I think that's where this whole thing kind of comes into culminates in a great like Metroidvania-like experience. You have these confined like 3-ish hour Metroidvania experiences. The maps are just big enough that they're super daunting when you first see them, but by the end, you know them like the back of your hand. Like when they introduce enemies that can pursue you through the map, you kind of know how to avoid them. The kind of satisfying loop aspect within these micro Metroidvanias is super fun, where you go from being like super scared to super safe and kind of plotting your next move. And all the tools are there. I mean, it's a great map. You're upgrading your abilities and you're kind of getting clues on where to go next. That's just my thought. And that was kind of like my biggest takeaway from the game, coming off of like I said, Resident Evil 4 is my favorite Resident Evil probably up to this point. That was largely a linear experience. You were pretty much like, with occasion you backtrack, but it was not a Metroidvania. And to me, this was like taking the best aspects of Resident Evil 4 gameplay, modernizing that gameplay, and adding this kind of like Metroidvania feel to it, which is my understanding that to an extent the original game was a lot heavier on like the puzzle side. But that is kind of my take on the game. But again, let me know down below what you guys think. I will catch you guys next time.